That's awesome, guys. Just in some days, I got really a good response on this series. So I'm going to start some more Naruto fanfic because you guys are really good at motivating me. So thank you for that. And if you are new on the channel, why don't you subscribe and turn on the bell icon for upcoming video and upcoming series on the channel. Well, there's one more thing. This series is based on what if Naruto was captured by Apocalypse and was experimented on. Then he was found out by X-Men team and he was taken up by them on. So there are many different things, and he has two different lives. In one in the Marvel universe, other in the obviously Shinobi world. So you guys are going to have much fun as I have. So without any more delay, let's begin today's episode.
Said, making sure I stayed out of trouble. Good luck there. As he took a swig. Neji was glaring at Naruto when a voice said, "What's up, buddy?" And everyone looked at Lee, who was buzzed, and Naruto said, "Well, he's happy." Lee looked at Neji and said, "Piss off, bug-eyed freak." In a drunk voice, shocking everyone. Neji stood up to take Lee's bottle away, saying, "You're drunk and a disgrace, dead last." Lee said, "What's you say, asshole?" Ina grabbed his bottle, guzzled some more, and disappeared with speed that shocked everyone, including Naruto, and punched Neji in the face, sending him flying out of the bar. Guy got up and tried to grab Lee when Lee leaned back and kicked Guy in the chin, sending him outside also. Naruto slapped his head and said, "A damn drunken master." Tenten jumped back after seeing both her teammates get attacked and asked, "What's wrong with you, Lee?" Lee said, "Nothing wrong, Bunbun," as he took another swig of the moonshine. Tenten looked at Naruto and said, "Hey, aren't you going to stop him?" Naruto looked at her and said, "Nope. Nothing I can do until he sobers up, which won't be for a while. Just leave him alone and he will leave you alone." Tenten looked unsure and asked, "Are you sure?" Naruto said, "Trust me, the only problem with fighting a drunken master is you leave him and his booze alone and he's fine, but mess with either and you get your ass kicked. Trust me, I got scars to prove it." Just then Guy came running in with Neji, who both tried to stop Lee, only for Lee to dodge every strike and send all three of them outside in a leaping kick before he laid down on the ground almost asleep. Guy got up and went to check on Lee, but Lee rolled to the side each time he tried to touch him and then kicked Guy in the chin and said, "See, I fooled you. Hehehehe." A shout of, "Neji Nissan, what happened?" And everyone saw Hinata run over to check on Neji, who was rubbing his jaw. Neji spat out, "Leave me alone," as he stood up. Lee heard Neji and said, "Be nice, asshole," as he sent a flying kick at Neji, who flipped several times after being hit and landed passed out with his feet over his head and looked like he was kissing his own ass. Just then a messenger hawk that was flying over took a moment to relieve itself and fell on Neji pants. Sasuke, who was running away from Ino and Sakura, saw Lee fighting Guy and Neji and saw they had headbands except for Lee and thought, he must be a missing nin or an enemy. Now's my chance to test my strength to defeat him. As he charged Lee. Lee stood in front of Hinata and said in a drunken speech, "Hey pretty lady, you have the same bug eyes as that jerk, but yours are prettier. Want to go out with me? I will protect you with my life." Only to backflip. Grab Sasuke punch, pulling Sasuke arm out of socket and sending a flying dropkick from his flip into Sasuke back, sending him away, only for his bandages to grab Sasuke and pull him back with them and punch Sasuke out and sending him toward Neji, flying, where they both flipped over several times, this time with Sasuke, who had his feet over his head, and Neji was slumped over him, where their faces looked like they were kissing, but you could not tell because of Neji hair in the way. They fell also in a more questionable position where their hips met each other and a white stain on both boys' pants. That was more than Tenten could take as she burst out laughing at the sight of Neji and Sasuke. Lee landed and looked like he was going to sleep Aegean, and he grabbed his bottle and drank the last of it. The branch member who was guarding Hinata ran over to check on Neji but stopped when Lee grabbed Hinata's hand and said, "Will you marry me, pretty bug-eyed girl?" Hinata blushed and passed out, and Lee caught her, and the branch member said, release her or I will kill you. I must take Hinata-sama back home. Lee said. Home. In a questionable voice before he took off, leaving a dust trail. Naruto smiled and said as the Hyuga started to chase Lee, so, what have you been up to? Tenten's food arrived and she said, training and missions. You. Naruto took a sip of his drink and said, killin' and chillin'. Here, allow me. As he grabbed her glass of water and had frost appear on it, chilling the water. Tenten looked surprised and Naruto said, so what's Konoha like normally? As he took a bite to eat. Tenten looked at him and said, Konoha is, well, Konoha. Naruto snickered and said, I mean, what do people do here for fun or to relax, things like that. I've been gone since I was 3 and only got back the day before I met your team, so I don't really know much about it. Tenten seemed in thought and said, well, there are parks to relax in, several book and music stores, though not much selection for music and most books are adult rated. There is a few restaurants and training grounds. Hot springs, and that's about it. People around here mostly just talk to their friends and gossip and stuff like that. Why? Naruto frowned and slammed his head into the table and said, I am so going to die of boredom here. Tell me, are there any interesting places for people to go outside of the village? Tenten said, I don't really know. All our missions have been to small farming towns or patrols in the woods that are outside of the village missions. Guy Sensei had been keeping us close to Konoha to train before going on harder missions, sorry. Naruto waved his hand and said, it's alright, it's not your fault. Tell you what, since you've been kind enough to talk to me, why don't I pay for your meal? Tenten said, sure, why not? Naruto nods and walks over to the drunk Kakashi and pats several pockets before finding his wallet, and he pulled it out and grabbed some money, and Tenten asked, what are you doing? Naruto said, I got an A-rank mission pay coming from the Hokage for capturing a traitor, and the money I have from where I have been at all this time is not recognized by Konoha, so Kakashi here said he would spot me the money and I pay him back out of my mission pay. Don't worry, I am including the receipt in his wallet and a note telling him what I did. As he walked over and paid for both meals and then put the receipt and a note in Kakashi wallet. Naruto frowned and said, you would not mind helping me get him back to my place, would you? I don't think it's a good idea for someone to leave their guard behind. Tenten sighed and said, all right, Blondie, but you owe me. You got to tell me about yourself. As she helped Naruto pick up Kakashi and they started to drag him toward Naruto place. Naruto asked, so what do you want to know? Tenten narrowed her lips and asked, is Echo your real name? Naruto said, no, it's my code name. Tenten asked, why do you need a code name? Naruto said, the same reason Anbu do, it's to keep my friends and family safe from my enemies. Tenten asked, what's your family like? Naruto said, my birth mother and father both passed away the day I was born. My adopted mother is cool, she acts like a big sister sometimes, and others she acts like my boss. She tries to keep me safe when she can, but there are times she lets me do things she knows are dangerous because they have to be done. I love her very much. I have others I consider family because we have been friends since I was 4 and they helped to raise and train me after they saved me. What about you? Tenten frowned and said, my mother passed away during the Kyuubi attack and my father left me to the orphanage after the attack, and I never knew who either of them were. I grew up alone and was never adopted. I work part-time at a weapon shop across town since I became a genin, so I can get my supplies at a discount. I get an allowance from the village every month and it pays for most of my needs, but I have to be careful with it. Naruto nods and said, I know how that feels also. Hell, we may have been in the orphanage together as children. Tenten said, but you were adopted. Naruto frowned and said, no, I was kidnapped. Danzo kidnapped me and sold me to a man who used me as a lab rat for a year until the people I call family now busted up his operation and rescued me in the process. Tenten frowned and said, sorry, I just thought you were one of the lucky ones who got adopted when you said you had a family. Naruto said. It's okay, I can understand. Had I not have been kidnapped, I would most likely have died on the streets anyways, so at least I got lucky in that regard. Just then a beeping noise was heard and Naruto groaned and said, Tenten, this is hard to say, but can you slap my belt buckle for me? Tenten blushed and asked, Why? Naruto said, I got a radio built into my belt buckle and someone is trying to call me on it right now, but I have to hit it to talk to them, and Tenten leaned over and slapped it. A female voice said, Come on, Echo, and answer. Naruto smiled and said, What's up, Doc? How's things with you, Phoenix? Jean voice said, Finally, we have been trying to get a hold of you for the last couple of days. Where have you been? Naruto said, I ran out of chakra again. Long story short, I had a mini geonosis. Jean's voice was quiet for a moment and she said, I see, everything okay? Naruto glanced around and said, The usual, glares and whispers. As he saw several people look at him scared. Tenten frowned when she heard this and looked around and saw what he was talking about. Jean's voice said, Well, try and stay out of trouble. Anyways, I just wanted to call you and tell you your mother said you need to try and find a date for the wedding. It's in less than 4 months. Also, your fangirl is trying to find you and Jubilee is ready to give her the Elvira look. Naruto muttered, Wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Jean asked, What was that? Naruto said, Nothing. Hey, is Cable around? Jean frowned and asked, Why? Naruto said, I think I might have ran into one of his old running buddies the other day, goes by the name Reload, claimed to be from the same area Cable's from, and I thought he might know him and could tell me how reliable a guy he is. He claimed my old childhood friend that I wanted to find while here was in Konoha, but I don't really believe him. Jean said, Understood. I will try and get a hold of Cable and find out. Be careful, kid, and don't do something stupid. You know how bad Road can get when you do. Naruto said. Roger, and thanks, Phoenix. Tell everyone I miss them and stay cool. Echo out. Naruto had a kunai fly out of Tenten's weapon pouch and slam against the buckle, and it stopped glowing and it floated back to Tenten's pouch, and Naruto said, Thanks. Tenten asked, Who was that? Naruto said, She basically an aunt to me as well as my primary doctor. Tenten nods and asked, What wedding? Naruto smiled and said, My mom. She's marrying the guy she's been dating for around as long as I known her. They had a rough start back then, but now they mellowed out and are settling down. Tenten said, That's cool. How old are they? Naruto said, Mom just turned 31 last month and Gambit's 33. Tenten said, Your mom's rogue. Naruto nods and said, Well, here we are. Want to come in? I promise I won't bite. Tenten said, Nah, not today. I need to go check up on my teammates and sensei. It was nice talking to you. Naruto said, It was nice talking to you also, Cash. Tenten blinked and asked, What? Naruto said, Sorry, it's just since the other day when I saw all those weapons you had, it reminded me of a weapons cache where they store a lot of weapons for later use. I thought it would be a cool nickname for you. Tenten said, No, it's alright. It's just no one's ever gave me a nickname before besides my boss at the weapon store, and it's mostly a joke for him to help improve business. He calls me the weapon mistress of Konoha, but I actually want to be that so I can show everyone I can be just as good as anyone else, male or female, like my idol Tsunade of the Sanins. Naruto said, That's a good dream to have, but it's not the only reason, is it? Tenten asked, What do you mean? Naruto said, Sorry if I am wrong, but I think you're trying to prove that you're someone special also for the memory of your parents. That's also a good reason to have, but slap across his face as Tenten stomped away. Naruto sighed and dropped Kakashi and said, You better tell her someday, asshole, or I will. She deserves to know the truth. As he walked inside, slamming the door. Kakashi slowly rubbed his head and looked where Tenten walked away and sighed as he got up and walked inside. He found Naruto waiting by the flower vase where he had put the rose at and said, "Do you have any signature moves or something no one else knows or something of value that there are no copies of or can be produced that you can make at any time?" Kakashi thought and said, "Yes, why?" Naruto walked over to a small table and said, "What is it?" Kakashi opened up his Ika Ika Paradise book and pulled out a picture and Naruto saw it and sighed and said, "I will think of something later." As he kicked the table leg bending it and then used his magnetism to repair it and the door to the elevator opened. Naruto stepped in and leaned against the walls and Kakashi walked in and they rode the elevator in silence until the doors opened and Naruto asked, "So you want to talk about it?" Kakashi frowned and said, "My teammate Rin were the only survivors of a mission that killed out other teammate. It's where I got this eye. We gave each other emotional support and things were rough and rocky always with missions, the war, and other things. It was that way until she became pregnant. Since she was not married to me at the time her clan disowned her and chose her sister as the heir to the clan. Her only possession she had was her clan's summoning scroll. Your father helped us out and then our daughter was born about 2 weeks before the Kyuubi attack. I was away on a mission at the time and Rin started to have complications. By the time I returned to Konoha 10 days later she was dead and our daughter was being taken care of by your father. I had only got to hold her for a day when word came of the Kyuubi coming. Being in Anbu at the time I was sent with the team to slow it down. Everything after that was a blur until your father was dead and you had Kyuubi sealed in you. My family home was destroyed by Kyuubi along with your family home and several others. With Rin's death, your mother and father's death and all weakening of our forces I made the hardest choice of my life, I put her up for adoption. The only one who knows is the Hokage. The money she gets every month is from me." Naruto sighed and said, "So why don't you tell her?" Kakashi said, "I can't. Every time I look at her I see my own failure as her father and to her mother. I am no father. I am a terrible model for one. Everyone I care for has died and every time someone of importance comes into my life they get caught up in my problems. I can't do that to her. At least this way she thinks I might have died in battle or on a mission or something instead of abandoning her." Naruto sighed and said, "Fine, it's your life but I think you're making a mistake." As he walked into his room and shut the door. Kakashi sighed and went to the room he had chosen earlier and went to sleep over the hangover he felt coming. Naruto sighed as he was finishing capturing Tora and returning her to the Hokage office. Tora was currently in a ball of ice with several sheets of metal forming a black pot floating in air around it with flames underneath it and little demons made out of fire circling the pot while dancing with pitchforks. The Hokage sweat dropped and the Fire Lord's wife screamed out, "My poor baby, stop at this instant." Naruto said. Of course as he extended his wrist blade and sliced the ice, metal and fire in half and Tora fell to the ground shaking. The Fire Lord's wife said, "How could you? You were to capture her and return her unharmed." Naruto pulled out a scroll and said, "Correction, Ms. The mission states that I was to return Tora alive. The condition of life was not discussed so therefore I acted well within my rights." The woman squeezed the life out of the cat and said, "Well don't do it again." Naruto said, "That will be an extra 50 for washing and killing the fleas." The woman said, "It was not stated in the contract." Naruto said, "Then make sure the next time you state what condition she's returned in. She might be missing a leg otherwise." The woman said, "I hate you." Naruto said, "The feeling's mutual lady, the feeling's mutual. I have only captured her how many times Gigi?" The third sighed and said, 102 times in 2 months. Naruto smiled and she said, "Very well, thank you again." As she walked away. Naruto sighed and said, "That cat is a mutant. It's got to be immortal. I have roasted, toasted, frozen, boiled, skinned, and grilled that damn cat so many times and it still comes back for more." The third sighed and said, So do you want any more missions today? Naruto said. Number 10 were enough for today unless I can get a C rank or higher. I mean, I have more missions than any other genin team and I am working solo, so come on, give me a bone here. I'm going crazy here. The third sighed and said, I'm sorry Naruto, but after what happened with Danzo, most of the academy students dropped out because they were not ready to deal with bloodshed. Out of a class of 42 students including you, we had a total of 8 after that day. I was only able to form 2 teams of 3 and Kakashi took Sasuke as an apprentice because he's the only one who can teach him how to use his bloodline, and since you can't use hand signs, Kakashi can't teach you anything you don't already know from the scrolls one gave you. You are either going to have to wait for the Chunin exams and test out, or wait until another team loses a member besides Team 8 and 10, or someone picks you for their team. Naruto sighed and said, I know, the clan heads are still scared of me. I get it. Well, if you need me, I will be around, somewhere. Take it easy, Gigi. As he turned and walked out the door. As Naruto was walking down the road, he saw Team Guy walking back into the village from a mission and he smiled and said, How's it going? Neji glared but said nothing. Lee, who was wearing an outfit like Neji's, said, Everything is alright. Neji is still upset with me and refuses to talk to me normally. Neji said, It is all I can do, Lee-sama. After all, you are my master now. Lee sighed and Naruto said, Still no luck in getting out of it. Lee said, No, none. Tenten said, Don't worry, Lee, I'm sure we will find some way to get you out of this arranged marriage. I still can't believe the Hyugas would have such a law. Lee nods and Guy said, Well, we must be going. We need to see the Hokage. Just then a shout of, Come back, Tora, echoed from down the street. Naruto's eyes glossed over and the sky darkened and lightning struck the same spot 9 times in a row, and Naruto turned and looked and saw a smoking Tora stepping out the hole, and Naruto said, Damn it, I swear that cat is immortal. As he saw the Fire Lord's wife run up and grab the cat and cry over it. Tenten shook her head and asked, So have you gotten a team yet? Naruto said, No, everyone is still scared of me, I swear nothing ever changes. Well, I hate to keep you waiting to see the Hokage, so I better get going. As Naruto took a scroll out of his pocket and unsealed a bottle of homebrew and took a swig as he walked away sadly. Lee saw him go and looked down and said, It seems that he is fated as we are, Neji, you to the branch house, me to marry the heir and him to be alone. As they all turned and walked away. Tenten sighed and thought back to the day after she slapped Naruto. Flashback. Iruka walked into class with Team Guy and Iruka said, Thanks for coming and helping me get all the paperwork organized for this year's class Team 9. I really appreciate it since I don't have an assistant any longer to help with it. Let me get the team selection out of the way and we can proceed. Now Team 1 to 7 are on reserve list for possible teams should any of the students who quit this week change their minds, so at the moment Team 8 will be Shino, Hinata, and Kiba. Team 9 is still active and Team 10 will be Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. Sasuke, you are being taken as an apprentice to Hitaki Kakashi, seeing as he is the only one who can help you with your bloodline. As for you, Echo, the Hokage wanted me to inform you that currently, since you are more advanced than any of the other students due to your prior training, you will be doing solo mission until a team can be found to place you on. You are to report for your first mission tomorrow at 7 a.m. and as for the others teams, please wait for your Junin instructors. Thank you all and please look out for each other and be safe. Thank you. As he walked out the door with Team 9 following. End flashback. Tenten shook her head and remembered later that day when she found Naruto sitting on the Hokage Monument. Flashback end. Tenten was walking to one of her favorite places in the village, the Hokage Monument, when she saw someone sitting on the head of the Yondaime and frowned for a moment, realizing who it was and thought, Damn it, why does he have to be here? This is my spot to come to be alone, why does he have to be here? Until the person sitting down said, If you want, I can leave. It's not like I'm wanted here anyways. As he took a swig of his moonshine. Tenten thought, He's really down about the team selection. Truth is, I would be. As she said, no, it's okay, I can come back later. Naruto turned and said, no, it's your village and probably your favorite place. I am sorry I disturbed your sanctuary. I just wanted some fresh air and to be away from everyone for a while, so I will just be going. As he got up and began to walk away. As he was about to pass Tenten, she grabbed his wrist and said, stop. You don't have to leave. Naruto said, yeah, I do. You're mad at me about yesterday, and I admit I was wrong, so there is no reason I should force you to be friendly with me when you don't want to, so I will be on my way. As he tried to walk away, but Tenten refused to let him go. Tenten said, sorry for slapping you. It's just, nobody ever figured it out like you did yesterday, and it felt like you were judging me. Naruto sighed and looked at the sky and said, it's a bad habit I have. When I see someone is hurting for some reason, I try to help where I can. Sometimes it works and the person I help can move on with their lives, but sometimes it blows up in my face. I guess it's just my way of thanking those who helped me when I needed them by trying to do the same for others. Tenten asked, how? How did you know I felt that way? As she let his wrist go. Naruto walked over and sat down against a tree and said, I could say I use my powers to read your mind, but this time it's not true. I saw the pain you hide in your eyes. I've seen so much pain in my life that I can read people by their eyes usually. After hearing you talk about your past, it was easy to figure out where the pain came from. I thought that you probably hide it from everyone because you don't have anyone to talk to it about, so I thought that I could be the one to listen to it and maybe make a friend in the process. Tenten frowned, thinking it over as she sat down beside him and said, well, you should try to control yourself and not try and butt into people's lives all the time, since it brings up painful memories, but you're right about me. I never told anyone about the pain I feel knowing I was abandoned and never knowing where I came from. Naruto said, don't worry about it. My lips are sealed, and unless Kakashi hurt us, no one else knows either. Tenten looked toward the setting sun and asked, what did you mean by powers? Naruto closed his eyes and said, remember how I told you I was a lab rat after I was kidnapped? Tenten nodded slowly and Naruto said, well, over the year I was held, I had multiple DNA sampled put into my body as the guy tried to turn me into a super weapon that he could reproduce for his own personal army. The DNA came from those who came and saved me and later became my family. He had gotten it from each of them through traps and other means over the years, and he respected their abilities because they were the only ones who could ever actually stop his plans. Naruto held up his hand and his wrist blade shot out, and Naruto said, this is called adamantium. It's one of the strongest metals known to exist. Once it is heated and molded, it becomes indestructible. It can even cut a diamond like it was paper. My entire skeleton has been completely infused with it, so I can never break any bones. As he withdrew his blade, Tenten was shocked and asked, you magnetism, was that also given to you? Naruto nods and a kunai from Tenten's weapon pouch flew up, and Naruto said, this power came from a man I consider an uncle. He goes by the codename Magneto. It is how I can fly as well as move any metal. I can make metal bend and mold by my will. Tenten was amazed by this and asked, what other powers do you have? Naruto chuckled and said, you're not scared of it? Tenten said, no, they sound pretty cool. Naruto smiled and said, thanks. Most people when they learn of them become scared. Well, I guess the next power I can show you is this. As he held up his ungloved hand and a rose made out of ice formed, and Naruto handed it to Tenten, who blushed, and he said, I have mastery over ice. I got the DNA from someone about 3 years older than us whose code name is Iceman. I think of him as a cousin. Tenten said, that is so cool. I wish I could meet these people. They sound interesting. Naruto smiled a small smile and said, maybe, they plan to come for the Chunin exams. Well, I guess I can show you my next power. Tenten gaped and said, you have more? Naruto said, yeah, I got 3 others. He then reached into his pocket and pulled out a lighter and lit it, and he moved his gloved hand holding a ball of fire and said, "This is my next power. It is the ability to manipulate fire. I can't start fires, but if there is any source of flames nearby, I can control it to become bigger or smaller." As the flame took the shape of a man and a woman and they began to dance together. Naruto said, "I got this power from a man whose code name is Pyro. He's, well, the best way to describe him is a pain in the ass. He like the guy every family has they don't like to talk about. He constantly goes out of his way to annoy me. One time I was flying over the Arizona desert in my sky hopper." Tenten asked, "What is a sky hopper and what is Arizona?" Naruto said, "Arizona is the name of a location like Konoha, Suna, and such. It's just a place with borders ruled by a government. As for a sky hopper, it's a machine that let people fly great distance and they don't need these powers to do it. The machines do it. Now, as I was saying, I was flying over the desert one time and my energy cells needed to recharge, so I went in for a landing. While I was waiting for them to recharge, he followed me and showed up challenging me to a spar. I agreed and I beat him, and to pay me back for beating him he set my skyhopper on fire. I was around 120 miles from the nearest city, so I had to completely scrap my skyhopper using my powers to turn it into a glider and use my powers to get it in the air and glide for several hours in the desert in the heat, and to add to it he decided to have some fun and started shooting fireballs at my metal glider, making it hotter also. All because I froze his balls." Tenten burst out laughing and said, "Oh, I wish I could have seen that. I bet it was hilarious." Naruto said, "It was when I got my revenge. Like me, he can't actually start a fire, so I convinced my friend Toad to slip a sleeping pill in his drink one day and I took him up to Antarctica, which is a place that is completely covered in ice, and stripped him down to his boxers, and along with 2 pieces of wood and a map and a note telling where his way off the island was, which was 20 miles away. When he woke up he was pissed and was freezing, and after 20 minutes he finally got enough heat with those 2 sticks to start a small fire, and then he had to completely cover his body in flames which started melting the ice trying to put out his fire. Burned off his boxers also, and he only got to look at the map before it caught on fire, so he had to wander around for around 6 hours till he finally found his way out. Boy was he pissed. Too bad Mom and Magneto got involved. They wound up putting us in the metal cocoon and threw us into a lake with a small portable air tank and told us we had to make peace for the next hour or die in the cocoon. We made peace all right. We beat the shit out of each other and I waited for them to come and get us after knocking him out." Tenten smiled and said, "These stories sound so cool. I wish I could have known you before now. I bet we could have had some fun together." Naruto said, "Thanks. Me too." They sat in silence for a few minutes and Tenten asked, "What's are your other 2 powers?" Naruto said, "Well, one of them I got is super healing. I can heal from most wounds in a matter of seconds. There is an extent to how much I can heal, but for the most part it's good. My last power is physic powers." Tenten thought, "That means he can read minds." She heard in her head, "Only some of them." As she went wide-eyed. Naruto looked down and away and Tenten said, "Whoa, that's freaky." Naruto said, "Yeah, I'm not as strong as the professor or Phoenix and I can only hear surface thoughts. I can't invade people's minds stealing information or make them do what I want, but if people are thinking to themselves just like you did, I can pick up on it. It's hard to control it when I am around large groups of people because it sounds like everyone talking at once. I usually have to focus on one person at a time." Tenten said, "I see. So what's your last power?" Naruto frowned and said, "It's the power I got from my mother. It's probably the most dangerous one for me than any of them. As long as I have more than 1/10 of my chakra in my body, I don't have to worry about it, but if I go past that amount where it gets to where I could die from chakra exhaustion, then if anyone were to touch me, my body would steal their chakra, and if they had any powers, it would steal those also. Depending on how long the person touches me, it could even kill them." Tenten paled and said, "I see. so your mother can't touch anyone. Naruto said. For over 10 years she had not been able to touch another living person. Then came the day they rescued me and I was able to touch her without dying. That meant more to her than anything else to finally be able to touch another beast. Another friend tested me and her several times, and the only difference we could find was I had large amounts of chakra in my body and her body did not. In fact, they never even knew about chakra until they got the scrolls from the Hokage on it. They then tested the others and found they had chakra even though they never used it, but she did not have but just enough to stay alive. We found where a person could transfer chakra to another and we experimented between me and her and was able to get her own reserves to that of a academy student in comparison, but she got her control near perfect with it. She has learned to stop the flow to use her normal power and let it flow normal and she could touch others. Tenten seemed to calm down and said, "Sorry." Naruto looked confused and asked, "Why?" Tenten looked away and said, "I got scared a moment when you told me I could die from touching you." Naruto waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about it. I got it under control so as to not hurt anyone, but thanks." Tenten smiled and said, "Hey look, the sun's setting." Naruto said, "Yeah, I can see why you like it here." As they sat watching the sun set in comfortable silence. End flashback. Lee, like Tenten, was also thinking about that day and what happened. Flashback. When Lee woke up, his head was hurting. The last thing he could remember was taking a drink of something and he looked around and saw he was in a room he did not recognize. He looked over and saw his green spandex outfit sitting on a chair and he looked down and saw he was totally naked. He blushed and looked around and thought, "Where am I and what happened?" He tensed as he felt a hand slowly rub across his shoulder and he turned and blinked and fainted. When he came to, he saw the girl who was in bed with him before now sitting beside the bed in a chair looking down with Hiashi standing behind her with a look of pure rage on his face and a black eye and said, "I don't know what you think you were doing yesterday, boy, but you have not only tarnished my daughter's reputation but also the entire Hyuga clan reputation. When you burst through our compound doors and not only defeated all the guards but made it past me and slept with my daughter here, you soiled our clan's honor. Now how do you propose we should deal with this matter?" Lee gulped and said, "I am willing to do whatever I must to restore your clan's honor." Hiashi breathes in and out heavily and said, "Then I have no choice in the matter. I had hoped you would act cowardly so I could kill you. Seeing as you have enacted the laws of my clan, you must marry my daughter Hinata here and take over as the next clan head when I step down." Lee blinked and asked, "What?" Hiashi said, "One of the guards you knocked out yesterday when you came in here screaming carring my daughter was the head of the branch house of the Hyuga clan. By doing so you automatically become the new head of the branch house even if you are not a Hyuga born. This law was created because the branch house is often married to non-Hyugas, and should all the Hyuga branch members be killed, the non-Hyuga branch members would need a way to select the new head of the branch house. Now that explains how you joined the Hyuga clan. Now another law states that should the head of the branch family challenge the main branch head in combat and lose, they would forfeit their life. However, if they challenge the main branch and win, then they would then have the right to try and gain the favor of one of the members of the main branch or their heirs to decide where they would join the main branch at. When I tried to stop you, I lost, and you then brought my daughter in here, and I don't know what happened during the time I was out, but seeing your current state of dress and the fact that my daughter was naked as well, I have no choice but to deem you have gained her favor, and as she is currently the heiress and because of this event I can no longer put her in the branch house without having to release all the branch house members for breaking the clan laws. You are now as her future husband the next head of the Hyuga clan. The Hokage has already been informed of this when I went to him this morning asking for permission to kill you, and he reminded me of these laws. Count yourself lucky. Should you refuse my daughter's hand in marriage and the responsibilities that come with it, I will kill you. Good day." Lee blinked and fell back on the bed as Hiashi slammed the door shut and it echoed in Lee's head. Lee asked, "Did we?" as he looked over at Hinata. Hinata said in a very stuttery voice, No, we both drank that funny drink you had since you got 2 more bottles of it somewhere while we outran the branch house member who was guarding me yesterday and came back her laughing and joking you passed out and I got hot and after opening the window I was still hot so I slipped into my lightest night shirt and sometime during the night we both got rid of it in your cloths. I already had myself checked this morning when I went to wash the sweat off of me when father came to check on me and found us in bed together and nothing happened but father does not believe me. I am sorry. Lee said. Don't worry about it. It will work out in the end, I hope. By the way, what's your name? I am Lee. Hinata blushed and the alarm clock on her bed went off and started to play the end of, and I don't even know my last name. Hinata and Lee both thought, damn fate, just had to be that song. As they looked at the radio alarm clock and saw it was 6:40 a.m. Hinata said, I am Hinata, Lee-kun. As she looked away. Just then a knock was heard on the door and Hinata said, enter. Neji opened the door and looked at Lee with hatred in his eyes and said, our team has a meeting in 20 minutes Lee-sama. Spitting out the sama as he bowed before walking away. End flashback. Tenten sighed as they walked into the Hokage office and Guy said, greeting Hokage-sama, our mission was as youthful as ever as a success. The third nods and said, very well Team 9, you have the rest of the day off and tomorrow as well. You're dismissed. Guy said, all right team, let's go show everyone our flames of youth. As he ran away. Lee sighed and walked after him normally and thought, I hate being a Hyuga now. I have to worry about the look of the clan. I had to get my hair and eyebrows to look normal and change my cloths and if I act like myself and embarrass the Hyuga clan Hinata is punished. I hate this. As he walked out with Neji behind him and to the right. Tenten walked toward the door but as her teammates walked out she closed the door and the third looked at her and said, is there something wrong Tenten? Tenten asked. What are the exact requirements for a team for Echo? The third said, I am sorry but I can't tell you Tenten without his permission. Tenten walked over and slammed her fist into the table and said, I don't care. I want to know what it takes to allow him a mission out of the village. The third looked at her and saw how determined she was and said, he would have to have a team for backup as well as someone who will watch him to ensure he returns to Konoha. He is under probation from being away from the village for so many years. It's the laws and even if I don't like it I can't show favoritism and bend the rules for him. He won't be allowed to leave the village without a team or until he becomes a chunin during the exams. Tenten sighed and bit her lip as she looked around and said, I would like to make a request. The third said, and what might that be? Tenten bit her lip and said, I would like to request a transfer from Team 9 for personal reasons. The third frowned and asked, I am sorry Tenten but there is no team currently available for you to join. Should one open up I can move you then but until then you are stuck with your team. Tenten turned and said, I believe you are mistaken Hokage-sama but there is another team who currently needs a member and I would like to request to join that team. The third asked, and which team would that be? Tenten said, I would like to be teamed up with Echo sir. The third sighed and said, I am sorry Tenten but the problem still is the same one. If I transfer you the problem is you would need to a sensei. Tenten smiled and said, I am sorry sir but I think you are misunderstanding. I am not asking for a standard Junin team. I am asking for apprenticeship under Echo. The third blinked and asked, what? Tenten said, from what I understand from the day where my team helped Iruka at the academy when teams were announced, the reason Echo is not currently with a team is because his skills are too advanced for fresh out of the academy students and there is currently no Junin who is able to teach him because of his unique abilities. However he could classify as a sensei in the fact he has unique fighting skills with weapons and other abilities that no one else in the village has. Since I am a weapon expert myself as you already know and my current sensei has no real knowledge to further teach me any new skills in my chosen field of specialty then I would like to learn of the weapons that Echo uses to improve my own fighting skills. As such, we would be classified as a two-person team and would then meet the requirements that you stated earlier, as I can vouch his return to the village. The third sat in thought for several moments and asked, "How long have you been thinking of this?" Tenten said, "I have been researching it for the last 3 weeks, or since I noticed that Echo is getting increasingly depressed and when not on missions has been drinking that stuff he calls homebrew constantly. I believed it is unhealthy for him and I would like to help him, so please, will you approve my request?" The third closed his eyes and said, "I will consider it, but do not approach Echo with this. I will give you my answer tomorrow." Tenten bowed and said, "Thank you, sir," as she turned and left. The third shook his head and thought, "She is one hell of a firespitter, but she's right. Naruto has been getting depressed here lately and he's been getting frustrated with D-rank mission. As it stands, when his 1-year agreement is up, he will leave the village forever unless something happens soon. Perhaps a friend will help make him stay." The next day Naruto walked into the mission office and the third looked at him and said, "Echo, please wait for a few moments. I have a mission I would like to discuss with you." Naruto nods and walks over to the waiting area as several other people came in and got missions. After a few minutes he saw Team 9 walk in and the third smiled and said, "Ah yes, Team 9, I have a 3-man mission for you. It is to deliver a scroll to Suna." Guy frowned and said, "I am sorry sir, but I don't believe my team is ready to do missions on their own without a Junin sensei." The third said, "I know and I agree with you, but your team is currently only a 3-man team as one of you students has requested an apprenticeship in the chosen field of expertise the student has chosen and I have agreed with it." Tenten smiled and Guy looked at each of his students and said, "Well, I suppose it would be you, Tenten, that has requested this since you seem excited." Tenten turned and bowed and said, "You are correct, Guy sensei. I believe I have learned all about weapon mastery I can from you. I do admit I thank you for improving my taijutsu, but I want to earn the nickname I was given as the weapon mistress of Konoha. It is for that reason I requested this. I have no hard feeling for you or anyone else on the team, but I feel I must move on to improve further. I hope there are no hard feelings and I would be glad to train with you any time you are available for advice on my taijutsu." Guy said, "I am proud of you, Tenten. I admit I have been expecting this for a while, but I did not want to force you to move on until you were ready yourself. I would be honored to allow you to train with my team any time you are available, but I would like to ask who you are to train under so I can give them any details of your training should they ask." Tenten said, "I have requested from the Hokage to train under Echo." Naruto, who was in the corner drinking, suddenly spit out his drink, making everyone look at him, and he looked at her and asked, I believe I heard wrong. Did you say you wanted to train under me?" Guy frowned and said as he looked at the Hokage, "May I inquire as to why you have agreed to let him train her? No offense to Echo, but he is only a genin himself." The third said, "I am aware of that guy, but as Tenten pointed out to me, he does have weapon experience with weapons of designs and use that we have no knowledge of, and it would be good for Konoha to have several people who can use those skills so they don't die out. I believe that both would grow from this, as Echo would get a chance to work with a team of Konoha ninja and learn our methods, and Tenten can learn his training skills and methods as well." Guy bowed and said, "Sorry for the questioning of your decision, Hokage-sama. I just wanted to make sure he was qualified." Naruto frowned as he walked over and the third said, "Here is the scroll, Guy, and you team may leave when ready." Echo, Tenten, I will discuss this with you in a moment." Guy team left with Lee wishing Tenten luck and Neji glaring at Naruto. After they were gone, the third said, "Now Echo, I would like for the rest of the week for you and Tenten to train together so you can accurately test her skills. Come back in 1 week to begin missions. You're both dismissed." Naruto asked, "Don't I get a say in accepting her as my apprentice?" The third said, "Well, you do, but if you refuse, you will be stuck still doing D-rank missions until the exams, because I doubt I will be able to find another team for you. So do you object?" Naruto frowned and said, "No, I accept." He then turned to Tenten and asked, "What exactly do you plan to learn from me?" Tenten said, I am a long-range weapon user. I would like to learn anything from more long-range weapons to close-range weapons that you may know, as well as any other useful advice you have. Naruto frowned and said, if I train you, it won't be easy. You also won't be able to teach anything to anyone until you have mastered it also. Do you accept? Tenten nods and Naruto looked at the third and said, I hope you're right about this. As he turned and left with Tenten following him. They walked for several minutes in silence and Naruto asked while walking in front of her, why? Tenten looked at him and asked, why what? Naruto stopped and reached for his glasses and pulled them off as he turned around, showing Tenten his eyes for the first time, and asked, why did you give up your own happiness with your team for me? Tenten said, I did what was right for me. I did not do it for you. Naruto grabbed Tenten's arm before she had a chance to say or do anything, and the next thing she knew, she was in a white room. Naruto's voice echoed from everywhere in the room and it said, you say you did this for you. Well, if that's true, then show me you truly are doing it for you. As the room changed to a view of Konoha, and then Tenten saw dead bodies everywhere of people she knew, and she heard laughing, and she turned and saw 20 Iwa nins, and one said, well, what do we have here? Looks like we get to have a little fun, boys, before we kill her. Another one stepped forward and sneered and said, I want first dibs. Another said, no, me. One more stepped forward and said, why don't we just all take her at the same time? As he pulled out a weapon. Tenten was getting scared. She put her hands together and tried to dispel it, and then she tried to bite her lip and it still would not work. She slowly reached for her weapon pouch and cursed herself mentally as she pulled out only 2 kunais and she got ready to fight. One jumped toward her and she jumped back and threw her kunai and hit him in the head, killing him, as 2 more jumped forward and one said, that was stupid, girl, you just got rid of one of your weapons. How many more do you have? Tenten said. Enough. With venom in her voice. The man sneered and ran at her as his partner went to flank her from behind. Tenten jumped away and was hit by a third one who kicked her in the ribs, making her fall to the ground and cough up some blood. The 2 original men charged at her and she flipped over to where she was on her knees when she was punched in the face, flying toward the wall. When she hit it, she felt 2 pairs of hands grab her wrist and hold her to the side, and saw both men she was fighting holding her, and the third one was slowly walking forward waving the kunai he pulled out of the body of the man she killed. He walked till he was in front of her and said, what will you do now, little girl? Will you scream for mercy or give up and die? Tenten sneered at him and said, I will see you in hell. As she spat in his face and jerked her head forward, hitting him in the nose, and as he stumbled backwards she kicked him in the nuts and used her feet to grab the blade of the kunai in the mont's hand and stab the man on her left. The man cried out in pain and let her go as he went to pull the weapon out, and Tenten used her free hand to grab around the man still holding her other arm's neck and snapped it as she jumped away. The man she kicked in the nuts got up and screamed, get the bitch, as the other 16 men all started to move in at her. Tenten turned and began to run, and she was looking right and left for a place to hide. She saw a store that had the front glass busted out and a body laying on the ground, and she jumped inside and hid behind the counter as she tried to catch her breath. She looked around for anything she could find as a weapon and thought, what the hell's going on? This is no genjutsu and these are actual wounds I have. Is this real? A voice screamed, I found her. As she looked over the counter and saw several men running for her, and she tried to get away as they drew close, drawing weapons and throwing them at her. She closed her eyes waiting for death. After several moments she looked up and saw everything was frozen, and then she heard clapping and she turned and looked and saw Naruto walking past the men and said, well done, Tenten, I must say you surprised me. Tenten asked, what's going on, as she got into a defensive position. Naruto smiled and said, end program. As the room changed back to a white room and Naruto said, this is called the danger room. In it I can create any kind of battle situation that looks, tastes, smells, feels, and thinks like a real thing. I wanted to test you and see if you were truly serious about training under me, as well as seeing if you would fight until the end or give up when faced with a hopeless battle, as well as testing your current skill levels. I must say I am impressed. You killed 2 ninja, wounded fatally a third while injuring a fourth, however you did make several mistakes which we will discuss later. For now follow me and we can get you treated for the wound on your side from hitting the ground. As he turned and started to walk toward a door that just opened up. Tenten blinked and looked around and said, "Wait, you mean none of this was real?" Naruto stopped and said, "Think of it as a real genjutsu that can't be broken. If you are going to train under me, then this is where most of your training will be done at. If you wish to change your mind, the time to do so is now." As he turned to look at her, Tenten looked at Naruto with determination in her eyes and said, "I won't give up, Echo." Naruto smiled and said, "Good choice, Cash. By the way, the name's Naruto." As he turned and walked out the door. Tenten blinked and blinked again as her mind processed what she just heard, and she ran after him, still holding her side, and she caught up to him and saw a hallway and asked, "Where are we?" Naruto said, "Around 100 feet underground on the X level of my home. Now this is the med bay over here. Follow me." As he walked inside a room when the door opened and Tenten looked around in awe and amazement. Naruto sighed when he saw the look on her face and said, "Now don't jump to conclusions, but I need to ask you 2 questions and then I can treat you. Are you or could you be pregnant?" Tenten blushed beet red and asked, "What?" Naruto sighed and said, "I have to ask because if you're pregnant, the treatment I am about to give you could kill the child. It's standard procedure to ask all women if they are or could be pregnant." Tenten blushed and said, "No, not possible." Naruto nods as he walks over to a computer and starts to type on it and asked, "When was your last monthly?" Tenten could have fainted from embarrassment right then and asked, "Why do you need to know that?" Naruto sighed and said, "It's so that way the treatment will know what to expect should you be on it, or if it finds bleeding inside of you, so it would treat you accordingly." "I am sorry, but it's standard questions again." Tenten sighed and said, "The 7th. All right, is that all?" Naruto nods and said, "Yes. Now if you would step behind that curtain over there and change into the outfit provided, the medic machines will treat you from there. When you're done and have been released, look for a room that says library and I will meet you there." As he got up and started to leave, Tenten said, "Wait, you're leaving?" Naruto looked at her and asked, "Would you want me here to see you possibly naked at times while they help you?" "I can if you want, but." Tenten turned red and said, "No, that's all right, go." Naruto turns and starts to leave and Tenten said, "Wait, Naruto." Naruto stopped and asked, "Yes." Tenten asked, "Is Naruto your real name or another code name?" Naruto said, "My real name." Tenten asked, "Why did you tell me it?" Naruto looked at the door and said, "I guess it's because I finally trust you enough to call you a friend. I don't tell anyone my name unless I trust them. It's one of the unwritten rules of mutants." As he walked out of the room, Tenten smiled a small smile until a human-looking machine moved forward from the wall and said, "Please change cash so we can begin medical procedures." Tenten asked, "What are you?" The machine said, "Your doctor. Now move." An hour later, Tenten was walking into the library and saw Naruto sitting on a couch, and Naruto read out loud, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but even the most beautiful rose can be deadly." As he slapped the book close and asked, "So how do you feel?" Tenten said, "Okay, I guess, Naruto. I am a little sore, but that machine said it would be gone by tomorrow. I never seen some of the things it used before." Naruto said, "I am not surprised. Things are different from my home." Tenten looked confused and asked, "What do you mean? This is your home?" Naruto closed his eyes as he leaned back and said, "Home is where the heart is, and for me, my heart is with my family. I am here, but my heart is with them." Tenten frowned and said, "You sound like you miss them." Naruto said, "I do. I only have 3 people here in this village who I consider close. One is the Hokage, but things have changed between us. Another is Kakashi, but since he has been training Sasuke, I have only seen him twice, and the last is you. Everyone else either totally avoids me or only says what they have to and then leaves. Tenten looked down and asked, "So what is it you wanted to talk to me about?" Naruto said, "Well, let's start with your test. Your flexibility is good, you could become good with a sword or a staff. Your throwing accuracy is great, but you made several mistakes that could have cost you your life. First was when you discovered you had only 2 weapons, you threw one at the first target, leaving you with only one weapon, limiting your defense and offensive abilities. The next mistake you made when you decided to actually engage the large number of ninja where they could all attack you at once. You should have tried to flee, breaking them up into smaller group for easier attack. You also ignored several things that could have been used as weapons or distractions while running when you did run, and the last mistake you made was hiding while on the run. I admit the hiding was good idea, but when you stopped you lost all the advantages you had in the battle. If you hide, you should also conceal your chakra and if possible henge to hide yourself. You saw the bodies everywhere dead. Why not henge yourself to look dead while leaving yourself an escape route? If they were chasing you, then it would be harder for them to detect a concealed chakra signature. The last mistake you made was when you decided to close your eyes when they threw the weapons at you. You forgot you could have replaced yourself with one of the enemies and took off running again. Yes, I do realize replacing yourself with a human target was hard, but you could also have replaced yourself with the chair a few feet away and then grab some of the kunais to make a last stand. If you are going to die, don't give up and fight until you are dead. Make sure the enemy does not get the pleasure of going home unwounded. Make them remember you as the most badass bitch this side of hell they were ever going to meet. Tenten listened to Naruto and looked down during most of it, but by the end she had a new fire in her eyes and said, "You're right, Naruto. I guess I never thought of that. I will show them next time." Naruto smiled and said, "I know you will, Cash. I know you will. Now I guess I better show you around before letting you head home. I already have you recorded in the security system." Tenten asked, "Why do you keep calling me Cash?" Naruto said, "Respect. I gave you that nickname and I am trusting you as I would any of my friends or family, so I will not call you anything but Cash until you give me permission to call you your real name when I have earned your trust." Tenten smiled a little and said, "Tell you what, how about when it's just us we call ourselves our real name, but when we are around others we call ourselves our other name?" Naruto said, "Whatever you say, Tenten." Tenten said, "Thanks for trusting me, Naruto." Naruto, I was wondering, what's your last name? Naruto got up and said, "It doesn't matter. I don't use it and probably never will. The boy whose last name I have died many years ago. For now I am Naruto, code name Echo, genin of Konoha and a member of both the X-Men and the Brotherhood. The Maelstrom of Geonosis." Tenten frowned and thought, "The more I learn about him, the more I get confused." After Naruto showed Tenten around and introduced her to the Sentinel security, they were standing at the door to go outside and Tenten asked, "So you live here all alone?" Naruto said, "Yeah, my family made this place into a mini version of my home back with my family. The only ones who can get past the front door are you, me and Kakashi when he comes by, but that has only been to say hi and that he would be busy more. Well, come by tomorrow around 7 a.m. and we will begin training." Tenten frowned and said, "All right, sleep well, Naruto." Naruto nods and said, "You also, Tenten," as he opened the door to let her leave. Tenten walked by him and stopped for a second and said, "Thanks for trusting me," as she quickly kissed his cheek and ran off, leaving a stunned mutant. Naruto sighed and said, "Well, that was interesting."
So how was the video? If you like it, then why don't you subscribe the channel and turn on the bell icon for upcoming videos and upcoming series on the channel. And if you have any kind of suggestion, or if you have an if you want to express your emotions or experience on this video, why don't you go to the comment section and tell us about it. So if you like it, then subscribe, share, and watch it once more with your friends. See you later.